And so that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. And my good friend is on. I'm going to bring her to the stage. Can I just bring people to the stage? Okay.
Yes, of course.
Okay, there she is. I sent her an invite. Let's see if she's going to.
You better do what you want to.
Well, I didn't know if it would like let me just randomly pick people.
No, this your room. You do. Listen, we just here to help. Now, question: are you still doing the Genius Insider?
Yes, so we're still doing. Oh, yeah. So the link to that as well, okay. Which is geniuslounge.co.
I already got it pulled up. I just wanted it out.
Yes. Awesome. So, friend, LaChandra, tell us about who you are. Let me tell you. So, let me tell you who she is. She is she's my road dog. Like, when I was practicing law in the courtroom, she was just like, she's everything. She's like, if you want something done in the courthouse, you go and you call her. She's the first Black court administrator in Montgomery Circuit Court. Is that Montgomery Circuit Court or just all? Please tell us who you are.
Well, thank you so much, Connie, for that introduction. But my name is LaChandra Warren Barnes, and like Connie said, I met her years ago in the courtroom in the courthouse. But in 2016, I was promoted to court administrator, and I became the first female and African American to have the position of court administrator here for the 15th Judicial Circuit in Montgomery, Alabama.
Woot woot.
That need to be in your bio. You better flex.
All of it.
Yes, that needs to go in your bio. If it is not, please update it immediately.
Yeah. You know, I'm new to Clubhouse, so I'm still learning. But yes, I do need to update that. And then, Connie, since then, because I'm on the Federal Defenders Board.
Okay.
This is my second year as president, and I found out that last year I was the first African American president of that board.
What?
Non-attorney.
What? Yes. Look at you. You are doing big things. Yes, you need to let the world know about that. I didn't even worry about. So when people see me on IG, they're just going to see this random Photoshop. Maybe I should just kind of like smile for the camera real quick, because you know how they pick like a little pose. Maybe I should just go. Okay, I did it. So maybe now I have a good screenshot. Oh, yes, let's see. Who else? Oh, so Ashley just left. But we're going to get started in just like a minute. I'm glad that you're on. And I know, and this is actually good for you, because this is about using your education and your experience to, I'm going to move you back down. But if you have questions later on, just raise your hand and I'll bring you back up. But this is,
thank you.
Mm-hmm. This room is really about... today, I really want. I can't sit like that because people can see me. Okay, cat full body. This room is really tonight. I want to really stress the importance of like what you know. What you know has value, and I want to kind of talk about how you can use that in order to create revenue that lasts beyond you. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. So, before we get started. I want my moderators. Could y'all introduce yourselves and then like I said, this is going on YouTube and Instagram, so I'm going to try to put my iPad up so that toward the mic. Okay, so that they can hear you on those platforms too. So if you want to introduce yourselves, that'd be great.
Ladies first.
Thank you. Absolutely. So my name is Alea Larkins, and I am the founder and lead business strategist of the Gritiverse Creative Group. We are a project and process management company. We build out systems to allow businesses to grow to 6 and 7 figures. We love everything automation, systems, data. So pretty much so that is little on me and what I do.
Awesome.
Well, that's going to be kind of hard to follow up. Thanks, Alea. I'm Max Gals, also known as the Coolest Nerd. I'm a digital content creator and owner of Maximum Motivational Media, which is a publishing corporation for music, audio, and art, literature. Just here to gain some knowledge from Miss LaConya. She's every meeting I've met, I've learned something new. So I'm definitely here to learn some more and just help her out when she needs assistance.
Well, I appreciate you all. I appreciate you both for like joining me every Monday since we started this thing, and Alea just pushing me to, come on Clubhouse and do this, because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do this. But I like it. And I thank you for pushing me. So I'm just going to introduce myself for people who do not know. I am LaConya Murray, brand attorney, owner of Off the Mark IP Solutions, where I help clients throughout the United States own their genius and protect their brand through trademarks, copyright, and business development. I'm so excited to host this week's Murray's Law, which is our weekly Q&A session that has to do with trademarks, copyright, and business development. What we do is we're going to spend the next half hour together, and what we're going to do is we're going to answer questions. Some of these questions were pre-submitted. We're going to do Genius Insiders first, Genius Lounge next, and then the audience. For those of you who are not familiar with the Genius Insider, what that is our monthly membership program that it gives you both the benefits of both worlds. You get legal and business in one subscription. So you get free legal consultations, you get free document review, you also have access to master classes that are business and legal related. Plus, after a while, you also get discounted legal services. So those people who are part of that membership, those questions come first, because we treat, they're insiders, they're on the inside. And the people who are part of our free community, which is the Genius Lounge, their questions come next. And the Genius Lounge is absolutely free to sign up. You just go to geniuslounge.co to do that. And then anybody that has a question while we're here live, we'll just take them as they come. So if you have questions, go ahead and just keep your questions. And then if you're on Clubhouse, I'll invite you to the stage so you can ask your questions. If you're on Instagram, just drop them. And then if you're watching me on YouTube, just drop your comments so that we can know.
LaConya, 1 second. Are you live on Instagram? Because I cannot see you.
Oh, did I not hit the button? Am I just talking and looking at the camera?
This is why I'm on all 3 channels to make sure you're going live.
Look, I was just like, there's no one there, but it's okay. I'm going to talk anyway. Ha! I'm live now.
That's okay. Gotcha. All right. We're rolling. We're cooking with fire.
Yes, cooking with hot grease, as my grandmother would say. So, yes, thank you for that. See, that's why you got to have people in your life that's going to support you and, just be there and be like, hey, are you sure you're live? All right. So, tonight's Murray's Law is a really, really good one. Let me just get to where I can see the questions on YouTube. So, tonight's Murray's Law is a really, really good one. And I'm excited about it. And the question that came to me from the Genius Insider was how? Because they know I create courses. So they want to know, how do you create, courses? And that's one part of the question. And I really want to take it a bit further, because it's not even just about creating courses. Courses is just one part of it. Really is, how do you take what you know and benefit from it? How do you take what you know and build a brand about it? How do you do that? So what I like to do is to teach people the main people that we help are professionals that are transitioning into entrepreneurship. So these are people who have degrees or they have experience, and they want to take what they know and profit for it themselves, not just give it to some company, right? So one of the things that I always tell people to do, and I actually have this framework, if you will. And hey, everyone that's joined on Instagram. So I have this framework. What you do is how do you use your genius? You hear me talk about genius all the time, and you're probably like, what does genius have to do with anything? To me, genius is a combination of everything that makes you you. It's a combination of your education, your experience, your personality, all your quirks and all. That's your genius. That's that secret sauce. So in order to benefit and from your intellectual property, you're going to have to embrace your genius. You're going to have to take everything that is you and just roll with it and be unique. Because you probably heard this, there's nothing new under the sun, right? Because there's someone always tweaking it or doing something. And that's kind of true. But at the same time, you have your way of processing it. And then that means you're going to have your way of teaching it. And that's what people want to hear. So when you have your education and your experience, it's not just about you regurgitating. I'm not just going to sit here and tell you about trademarks, right? I'm not going to just sit here and teach you business. I'm going to create a signature This is where your intellectual property comes. You're going to create a signature methodology or framework around what you do. Listen, that is the secret sauce. Creating that signature. I have so many people coming to me and they want to like license, like what would it cost? Like, how do I use someone else's quote in my stuff? I want to use this picture. How can I use this picture? Not knowing that when they use someone else's work, when they use someone else's picture or someone else's work, they have to pay a licensing fee. So that licensing fee is literally just them granting you permission to use their work. And so instead of you paying the fee, why can't you be the one charging the fee? Does that make sense? Like, I want you to be the person that's charging the fee, not just the person that is paying the fee. So that's why I want you to create intellectual property. And so what that looks like is using that methodology or that framework to create courses, to write books, to whatever it is, create a podcast, write blogs, all of that stuff. That's what I want you to do. And then, oh, hold on a second. That's what I want you to do. So this methodology I'm talking about is just really a set of principles or tools. Like, how are you teaching it? A lot of people use acronyms. We use an acronym here. And so, for an example, we have a framework that we build our business around because it was just easier, because business encompasses so much. I'm not just an attorney. I love talking and helping people build businesses. Like, that's what I do. That's why I got into what I do. And so we have a methodology or a framework here that we use in order to determine what services and what clients we're going to take and how we're going to help them. Ours is called, I bet you guys can guess it, it's called the Genius, right? It's the Genius framework. So our framework is G. We're going to generate a plan. I believe if you ask me any question, how do I do this? When should I do that? The answer is always going to go back to, do you have a plan? What does your plan say? So G stands for generate a plan. E is establish a mindset, establish a strong genius mindset, because one of the things that I learned in business is that so many of us are haunted by our limited beliefs that is getting in our way of making millions. And we have to have the right mindset when we're going to get into business as an entrepreneur. And then, Alea, you're going to love this one. N is for narrowing down your systems. And I say Alea because if you're not following Alea, you have to follow her. She is the system and processes queen. And we're not going to leave 2021 with our systems and processes in a mess. Okay? So N is all about narrowing down your systems. I is for inserting yourself into the marketplace. U, utilizing your intellectual property. And S, securing that bag. It's all about the money. That's what we teach around. And there's so many other things that you can teach when it comes about business, but this is what we do. So in order to create intellectual property, you have to take it and make it your own. That's the key thing. Like, there's so much value in creating your own, and we see that there was two things that I had a thought of. I don't know how many people are familiar with CC, the six-figure chick. She's actually I live in Montgomery, and that's where she resided as well. But Cece passed away last year. Oh goodness. But one of the things, and even today, like, I saw a post from her page because her business is still running, and her business is able to keep running because she created content, not just content, but intellectual property that she can sell beyond her, that she can keep generating revenue from without doing anything else. And that's what you have to do when you're in business. That's the beauty of intellectual property. Let me just tell you that it's not about, like, when I talk about trademarks and protecting your brand, I don't want you just to do this so that you can get a sheet of paper, like you can get a certificate that says, hey, I have a trademark certificate, or hey, I have copyright registration. That's not what it's about at all. It's about what it can do for you. Because now, and so I'm going to take it and slow it down for just a minute. So now, when you have this intellectual property, people have to come to you. If they want to use it, they have to come to you. And when they have to come to you, you get to charge for it. And what I want to talk about when you're using this intellectual property, it's a 1-2 punch. especially when you're on the creation side. So one, copyrights. So your copyright protects original work in a fixed tangible form. So if you have an idea for something, that's not going to cut it. You got to put that idea in a fixed tangible form. And the person that puts it in the fixed tangible form is the person that owns it. Keep that in mind. The person that puts it in the fixed tangible form is the person that owns it. So if you're working with a creative like Max, maybe you want him to do some music for you, right? You pay, even though you're paying Max to create this music for you, guess what? He owns it. It's his. He's the one that brought it to life. Even if you gave him some feedback and input on it, it's still his unless there's an agreement between the two of you that he's going to assign his rights to you. So that's where that copyright comes in, that original work in a fixed tangible form. So you have your courses, you have your books, you have your podcast, and all those things right now are really hot. I mean, goodness gracious, the course industry is booming. It's still booming. I think it's like $1 billion industry now, and you want to be in that. You want to be in that. The other thing, like I said, you have your courses, you have your books, you have your podcast, and then whatever else that you can create. Like that is the copyright. And then the next thing that people say, now this is the one too. So the copyright is the one. The branding is the two. The branding is the two. The branding is what makes people buy from you and not someone else. I have clients come to me all the time and say, how do I prevent people from taking my course and then going and make their own course? How do I prevent people from copying me? And the reality of it is, you can't. So think about it. The information, the knowledge you have, you read from a book somewhere. Someone taught it to you, and you just took it and processed it and made it your own. So as long as that person is not using your own work against you, then you can't protect ideas. It's the execution of ideas that's protected. But that's where branding comes into play, because people will buy and spend money with who they know, like, and trust. So with your brand, that's what you want to do. You want to create a brand that people know, that people like, that people trust, so that when they're looking for you, they find you. That's where the trademarks come in. So trademarks protect brand identifiers, those things that help consumers readily identify the source of a good or a service. When you have a brand, and I just talk about Starbucks. I'm always talking about Starbucks. Why am I talking about Starbucks? Because personally, I think Starbucks is overrated. Do not throw stones at me. Let me drink this water while I talk bad about Starbucks. Hold on. But yes, do not talk. Don't throw stones at me. I don't care for their coffee, but Starbucks has a powerhouse brand. They did an awesome job of creating this environment of like, yes, if you have this cup, if you come here, then you're cool, you're something, like you're part of the in crowd, right? And people want that. People want that connection. So when you build a brand like that, people will buy from you, even if there's someone else that's doing it, even if someone else is doing it cheaper, because they don't care about the money. People always think, well, no one's going to buy from me because my prices are too high. My prices are that. No one really cares about your prices. If I'm being honest, and I'll be honest, people care about the value that you bring to them, and that's part of what you're going to communicate in your brand promise. Whew. So does anyone have any questions about what I just talked about? Or anything to say before I move on to the next question? That was a really good question. All right.
Yeah, I do actually have a question because you were talking about the music. Like I know that, but what would be the best way to explain to a consumer who wants me to do that, who doesn't know that? Would it just be something I will put in the jargon and in the contract? Or what would be because that's kind of like, okay, hey, I still own this music until we talk about the rights and the licensing over it. I get, because I'm a music person, how that works, but how would I explain it to a consumer?
I think that brings an excellent opportunity to, as far as even like with your packages that you have to offer, is to offer different levels of packaging. One package that includes a license, like a limited licensing agreement that says, "Hey," and you just have to explain it to them. If they don't know, you're just going to have to explain it to them. You have to say, legally, as an artist, because I created this, I still own the rights to it. But this is how we can move forward. One, you can take package A, where you get a limited license, where you can use it as your podcast intro. I'm just making up stuff, right? You can use it as your podcast intro, or just business purposes of that nature. You can take package B, where you can use it for commercial purposes, meaning that you can take it and resell it, right? You can take one of those, and then, or you can take option C, where you can get the full license. I assign all my rights to you, and it's yours with no limitations. And with that, and even with option B, you can say, limited license for a year or whatever you can put in there. But with each one of those packages has a different price point. And you just explain to them in that nature, like, because I created it, I own it. Hey, Rhonda.
Definitely. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. That was a great question. Let's see. Any other questions? Just checking out the places. Okay. Cool beans. Let's see. Rod. Okay, let's see. Hey, Rod. How are you doing?
How are you? Good. How you doing?
Doing great.
Okay, I had a question to follow up to Max's question. So, what if I bought beats as a service? I had someone to create music for me and pay them. Does that change what you just described in your number 3 example?
Not at all. That's actually the perfect example of what we're talking about, because the copyrights lay with the person that creates it, unless they are an employee doing the work in the scope of their employment. Now, there are a couple of other exceptions, but most of them don't apply to us in the business, how we do business with creatives. So that's why it's very important that even though it's your intentions to own that, you have to have this conversation up front, because the copyrights do lay with the person that created the work. Which is why I do what I do, because so many people do not know that. So many people don't know that the logo that they had created, they don't even own. So that was a really great question, and thank you for allowing me to bring some clarity to it.
Oh, wow, that hit hard. Some people don't know that the logo that they paid someone to do, they don't own it.
They don't own it. Like,
wow.
They don't know that, because no one talks about these type of things. I've been talking about this since, I guess, 2012 when I started my practice. So,
so I've had this with photography. So photographers and videographers, when even if you pay them to do it, but you didn't describe that I want to own this, then their marks show up on the things you want to use, then you go license it. So I many years ago, I did have that battle. That happens a lot.
Yes, that's why if you think about the days when we used to go into studios like Fortress Innovations, JCPenney's. Ooh, y'all remember Glamour Shots? Don't judge me. Yes, I have some Glamour Shots somewhere.
Absolutely.
Like, don't judge me. But yeah, it's the same thing. They would just give you, like, you had to choose your package, right? And then you couldn't go and make copies, because then the people at the copy place would be like, do you have permission to make copies of these pictures in your white boa and blue dress? No, I don't. Stop. So exactly. So all those creative, but you have to think about it too. That's how creatives eat. That's how they make their money, is by that. So they have to have some sort of way to control that. And you'll be surprised how many creatives I run into that don't know that they own the rights to the work that they create. So many.
I think that's why a lot of producers have the limited, like you said, the limited lease on production, and then they have the exclusive rights sale as well.
Exactly, because they're learning. They are definitely learning. You have to get your money. You don't want everyone else to benefit from your hard work, but you. Like, that's not what we're doing, especially not in 2021. We're not doing that in 2021. Cool beans. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to go to the next question. I want to make sure I get to it before we get out of here. The next question is, hold on. I don't even have it pulled up. Ha ha ha. Don't judge me. The next question is something to do with a DBA. Okay, here it is. Do I need to file any paperwork for me to use my name as the DBA of my company so that the name is registered? I think that's a really great question. A lot of us, and I think I said this before, when you form your business, so this person has a business that's formed, she has an LLC, but she does business as her name. So she wants to know what does she need to do in order to protect her name so that no one else with that name can launch doing the same business as her. So this brings up a couple of great points. The first point that it brings up is that, one, when you register your business with the state, it has nothing to do with the trademark. The state just wants to know who they can get their money from. That's it. Your trademark, on the other hand, is for consumers. They want to know who they're spending their money with. So that's the difference between the two. So a lot of people have their LLC, and it can be something generic. My LLC is Murray Law Group LLC. And then they have a trade name that's more commercialized to get people in to make that connection. So my trade name is Off the Mark IP Solutions. And the reason that I chose Off the Mark IP Solutions is because we keep people off your mark. What? But we have a DBA for that. And so that DBA is just doing business as. In some states, you have to register your DBA to let the state also know that you're doing business as another name outside of your business name. But in this case, she wants to make sure that no one else can basically use her DBA as a trade name. And because she's using her actual name, I want to touch on, using surnames and having those protected. Now, you can, like Steve Harvey has a trademark. I have a couple of clients' names that I have protected. But the thing is, it can't be a common name. If it is a common name, they're not going to let you protect that, especially when it comes to surnames. They're not going to just let you get a trademark for common surnames, because now you're preventing other people from being able to do business using their name. Oh my gosh, you know what that just put me in the mind of? You don't, let me tell you. McDonald's. How many of y'all have seen the movie The Founders? If you haven't seen The Founders, like the story of McDonald's, please go watch it. Long story short, a salesman runs into this burger joint ran by two brothers. He loves how the systems, how they have it all organized and systemized and processed. And so he asks if he can buy in. After a while, he starts getting more into the business. At the end of it, he buys them out, right? Name and all. And so when the brothers try to go and create another burger joint using their name, they get a cease and desist letters because he owns their name. He owns the trademark to their name. When I just said surnames, that just reminded me of that. But go watch it. There's so many great business gems in the movie The Founder. Please go watch it. The main thing is read your contracts. Know what you're signing. Don't sign your name away. Don't do that. I'm off track now. I got hype about The Founders. I like movies like that. Okay, so the other part, I had to get back to what I was talking about. So the other thing is, so when it comes to surnames, if it's something that's popular, they're not going to let you get a trademark for it if it's a popular name. But so her question is, should she get a trademark for her name because she does business as her name? Yes, you can. If that's your trademark, if that's how people know you, if you're building a personal brand, absolutely you want to protect that. And then The third part of the question is, should I change my business name to match my trade name? Again, you don't have to. You don't have to. And that can actually, if you keep changing your business name every time you rebrand, because rebranding happens, it can get costly and confusing to the state over a period of time. You can keep your business name, the LLC, exactly what it is, and then just have your personal brand and your brand name. Oh, man, this is a whole bunch of good questions. All right. Katanya, I'm going to invite you as a speaker, but I'm going to answer the last part of this question before we get to you. All right, so the last part of this question says, give me one moment, Katanya, and then we'll let you ask your question. This one says, oh, domain names. I've purchased a bunch of domain names. Do I have to get these domains protected as well? Can I just say, so your URL is an address. It's not a brand name. So trademarks protect brand identifiers, those things that help consumers identify the source of a good or a service. If it's not identifying the source of it, not where you can find it, but the source of it, then it's not a trademark. So if you just have a domain name and that's where you're hosting your website or your online store or your courses or whatever, you don't necessarily, it's not acting as a trademark. Now I have protected some domain names, but that's because they were using it as a trademark, as a brand identifier. Barrett says, I have a quick question from the business standpoint. How do you accept checks under your trademark instead of your LLC name? Okay, great question. Whenever you have that LLC and your DBA, always have the money made out to your LLC. Whenever you enter contracts, never enter a contract under your DBA. You always do. So, for example, Murray Law Group LLC, doing business as Off the Mark IP Solutions. Cool beans. Great question. Katanya, did I pronounce your name correctly?
You did, yes. And is yours pronounced LaConya?
That's it. Look at us, almost name twins.
We're hooked on phonics. Yes. Mm-hmm. Hi, everyone. Great information. I came into the room a little bit after you started, but I've been taking notes on the wonderful information. And I had a question about filing intellectual property value on tax returns. I'm a publicist here in Baltimore, and I work with several nonprofits. And sometimes if their budgets aren't what, if it doesn't match what my monthly rate is, but if they have a really great organization and I'm passionate about helping them, I will charge the balance of the, what they owe, so to speak, or what my worth was to them during the year on my tax returns. And it's been pretty beneficial for me, to make sure that I don't owe anything. It's kind of helped get a nice return back. And then this year, I thought I noticed that the federal government put a cap on how much. I don't know the details to that too much, but I just wanted to know if you were knowledgeable about any of that. First of all, number one, is that something that you recommend that people do with their intellectual property if they're helping people? And number two, are you familiar with the cap that the IRS may be putting on it as of this year?
I'm going to answer the second question first. Is no, I'm not familiar with IRS caps. That's outside of my realm of genius. And then I don't quite understand the first part of your question. You say, ask me the first part of the question again.
Okay, so say for example, a person's fee, not just a publicist, but anybody who's creating content for someone. Mm-hmm. Let's say they charge $4,000 a month.
Okay.
But that particular client can only afford $2,000. Mm-hmm. So the additional $2,000 a month times 12 months, which is generally $24,000, or it may be more than that, depending on what content you created and intellectual property, you did during the year. Then they would take that additional amount, and file it on their taxes as intellectual property towards that nonprofit.
I'm gonna let you talk to an accountant about that, because that's outside of my realm of genius as far as using the intellectual property on the taxes. What I
Okay.
hear you, yeah, because what I hear you saying is essentially you created content, and that content is valued at a certain amount, but they weren't able to pay the full amount, and so you just want to know how to deduct the difference.
Yes, because I've been doing it and it's worked. I didn't know, and I just wanted to know if you had any ideas or suggestions in reference to that. But if you, like you said, if it's outside of your area of expertise, then
it is. I have two people I can definitely refer you to if you want to DM me on Instagram. I can give you two names.
Awesome. Will do.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Any other questions? Let's see. Someone says, do you have to file a DBA with the state? So this is in Alabama. You can. Well, you don't have to. You don't have to. You can file in Alabama. You can file for a trade name. All right. Let's see. Cool beans. Any other questions? And right now, for everyone that's listening, I guess I just reset the room for everyone that just came in. I'm brand attorney LaConya Murray. Right now, we're streaming on Instagram, YouTube, and Clubhouse, and we're doing Murray's Law, where we answer your questions. And we do this weekly. We answer questions around trademarks, copyright, and business development. And we've had some really great questions. So if you missed it on Clubhouse, make sure you go and catch the replay. You can go to thegeniuslounge.co. And when you log in and create your free account, you can go to your dashboard and just click Murray's Law, and all of our previous Murray's Law will pull up, and some other great content as well. But thank you for everyone who submitted questions and who asked questions live. Do we have any more questions? All right, let's see. Hey, Rod, you're back. What's up?
Hey, I had a question. So, have you had a lot of people who are utilizing government IP to create businesses? I do a lot of that work, but I'm curious to see if that's something that's happening broadly in the industry, because there are low royalties to pay when you license that stuff. So I'm just curious.
I haven't experienced that. But that is one way for people, and I always, encourage people, if they're going to use someone else's intellectual property, to reach out and make sure you're doing it the right way. Actually, I think it was last week's Murray's Law where we had to have that conversation with someone that was infringing on someone's intellectual property. But and Rod, while you're here, tell us about who you are and what you do. I'm interested.
Okay. So what the question I'm a serial entrepreneur. So I've been an entrepreneur for it'll be 20 years in 2 weeks. And my businesses have been linked to sports, entertainment, and technology. And so if you've seen BET Black College Tour, it used to tour across the country for about 14 years. That was one of our main brands that we created. So I actually owned the Black College Tour. BET was our title partner.
Yay!
But I know it. Yeah, so I know it looked like BET, but it was actually our brand.
I love that.
Was there.
I love that.
But my day job is with NASA, and as a part of it, I work with small businesses and minority-serving institutions. And one of the things that we kind of struggle with is getting information out about the availability of IP, so intellectual properties that NASA has created, and there are about 31 other agencies that have this. And you have the IP, you look at it, and you can take that IP as a startup and play with it at no cost.
Wow. It's like open source.
It's open source. And I use it. I'm also an adjunct professor, so I use it in my classes to give examples of how to create commercialized concepts and then potential business plans. But if you were to go license it, the royalty is generally less than 5% that you'd have to pay whoever developed it, and you get access to them, from a technical capacity to help you grow the business. So that's an opportunity for people that are interested in something. They don't have to go design and create it all on their own. They can actually get something that's been created and patented and utilize it.
Wow, that's great. I would like to learn more about that, just so that I can let more people know. That's what I've been doing with my platform for the last, I guess, 8 years, is just educating people on intellectual property and the different things that are out there. And so that's something I would definitely like to help spread the word and educate people so that they can know.
Well, technology.nasa.gov. You can start there. We can connect. I'll send you whatever this connection piece is on here, so okay. I can definitely talk you through
perfect
how NASA does it and some other agencies. I'm looking at probably like 3 or 4 properties now that are linked to esports, and I think that's something that I may do this year. Since I work there, I have to go through a different process, but this is something anybody can do, literally anybody.
Okay, well, great. We'll definitely connect off of Clubhouse. Thank you for that. And Robin, I thought I saw your hand up, Robin. So I'm going to invite you. Let me tell you about Robin. Robin is freaking amazing. Okay, for the guys in the room, do not act like that. Okay, so Robin has an amazing product. She, I'm gonna let her tell you. Robin, tell us.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Hi LaConya. How are you?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I was so happy to see you doing this room tonight.
Yay! I'm glad you made it.
Yes. So I own a company called Vanblish. We sell period underwear and products for just menstruation. I just want it to be a topic not just for females, but for males as well. Periods make the world go round. If you don't have a period, then you know somebody who does have a period. So the underwears have been doing really well. I launched 6 months ago under this name, but I needed LaConya to come help me because I got in trouble with the name that I had chosen back at the beginning of quarantine, and a bigger company came after me, and it was just really messy. But thanks to LaConya, I was able to get this new name, and it just recently got registered, right? I just celebrated. So it's really amazing. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for sharing, and thank you for letting me help you. That was great, and that's that's a good example of one, when you start. Even if you're not going to get the trademark right then, you want to do a trademark clearance search. You want to make sure that no one else is using the mark. And then you want to kind of just keep an eye on it, because when you're in that launching phase, before you actually start using the product, there is no protection. If you haven't filed an intent to use application, even though you picked your name, you did your trademark clearance search before you launch, and you're in that whole building and creating phase, there is no protection there. And so when you get ready to actually launch, you got to do another trademark clearance search if you haven't protected yourself during that launch phase. That's why I love intent to use applications for clients, because what it allows you to do is, because in the United States, it's first to use, not first to file. So when you file this intent to use trademark, it gives you priority over anyone else who might actually use the trademark before you, or if they file after you. You have priority, even though you're not using it, because you filed this intent to use application. So that's why it's so important, because what you don't want to have to do is to rebrand, because rebranding is a pain and it can be expensive. But I'm so glad that we got it worked out, and we even got like an even better name. Like, I love it. So yes, kudos to you and congratulations on your trademark.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. I am going to check I'm checking the other places for questions. And I don't see any questions. All right. Well, this is a room that we typically stay in for about half an hour. We're a little bit over, but I don't mind. I can talk about this stuff all day. If there are any other questions, let's ask those questions now. If not, listen, y'all catch me in the Genius Lounge. That is my free community. You go to geniuslounge.co. That's where I like to hang out. Answer questions, go live sometimes in there. We also have the Genius Insiders. That is an awesome and amazing program for people who are looking to have that attorney that they can go to. Oh, let me run this by my attorney. Oh, I don't want to sign this. Oh, I have questions. Let me ask these questions. And you can actually have free consultations. You have free consultations with an S, not just one. Free document review. And those consultations can be used for legal or business, whichever one you need. And then you also get access to monthly masterminds. We have some really good ones scheduled for this year. That's what I spent the last bit of 2020 doing, is mapping out our master classes for 2021. And you also get hot seats. So sometimes you need to have another set of eyes on something. You have an opportunity to have your work submitted to the hot seat so that I can look at it and give you feedback. It's really, really great. And the price is you really can't beat it. The price is $112 a month. That's less than my consultation fee. Or you can do quarterly for $297. And after 3 months, or if you go quarterly, then you have access to discounted legal services, so discounted trademarks. And you cannot beat that. This is the year that I want everyone to have their business affairs in order. Like, we're not going to leave 2021 with no trademarks and no copyrights. We're not doing that. All of our intellectual property will be protected. Before we go and we talk to our employer about this thing that we want to create, we're going to talk with an attorney and see what rights do I have in this and how should I approach this. That's what we're doing in 2021. Cool bean. Well, that's all I have.
Agree and love it.
Agree and love it. Well, thank you. That's all I have. If there are no other questions, and thank you for putting the links in the Instagram, and I'll put them in the YouTube comments. So thank you all for spending your Monday night with me. I appreciate it. We'll be back here next week. If you have any questions throughout the week, go to the geniuslounge.co and submit your questions and you'll see the form that says Murray's Law. Submit your questions there so that you don't forget them, and so that you can go ahead and make sure they get answered. All right, so I am hanging up on the YouTube.